Hello, welcome back to my Facebook page and my YouTube channel, The Untitled Princess, where we're talking about everything and anything that has to do with mental illness. Basically, tapping into our emotions in order to determine what could potentially be causing our mental health related illnesses. My name is Tumeka Molitane Hankerman, and I would like to welcome everybody who has joined the Mental Health Nation in the last couple of weeks. I just want to say you're welcome here. This is a very safe space. There's no judgment here, but if anything, we're only just trying to help each other manage and deal with mental illness. So that's the first thing. And just a disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist or anybody who has been trained to deal with mental illness. I'm purely someone who was diagnosed with general anxiety disorder with severe panic attacks in March of 2019. And in October 2020, I embarked on a journey to share my story and to share some tools that have helped me along the way. I am not fully healed. I depend solely on medication, which I've been on since July 2019. And yeah, I think I have a handle on my mental illness, although sometimes it has a handle on me. But anyways, let's not even talk about that. So that's basically that. And then I have the book here. I always prep for a video. I don't just come and talk. I wanted to share that the Instagram live that I did with Pindi, it is on Instagram. She has saved it. So if you haven't seen it, please just make sure to go and check it out. I think it was a very good session. It was just over an hour. We had a good turnout and we received requests to have further live in the near future, which we definitely are considering, and we'll plan the next one. So please, if you haven't watched that one and you want to see it and you can't find it, let me know and then I will direct it to where you can go. I think it was so nice to talk to someone else about their story as well, because I feel as though everybody knows my story now, and I'm so happy that more people are starting to talk and are starting to share their journeys as well. Cool. And then last part of the admin is just that I have been very busy behind the scenes, and I know I said I was going to shoot 2 videos a month, and obviously in January I only shot 1, but we're not there. I have been very busy in the background, obviously putting some steps in place for me to register my NGO, the Untitled Princess, and I have been doing other things to help people. Last week I managed to raise 4,000 rand for a student who's at Rhodes University and who basically messaged me to ask for money for transport to get to school, and she asked me 150 rand, and I don't generally I don't give people money. I get a lot of requests of people wanting money because for some weird reason people think I have money and I do not have money. So this girl, she told me a story that she stays with her gran. She's supposed to go back to school this year because they are doing classes this year, and all she wants is 150. So initially I wanted to be very dismissive. I don't have the money, and because I had already committed to something else in January, so I was like, okay, how much is the bus ticket? So she was like, no, it's 150, but I'm gonna take a taxi because the taxi is cheaper than the bus. Okay, cool. I sat on this for a couple of days actually, and I remembered something. I remember that when I was in varsity, I was that girl as well. I would see the stress on my mother's face when it's almost February for me to go back to school. Those small things, toiletries, doing hair, ensuring you have money so that when you get there you look presentable, you look nice and things like that. So I have been in a position, although I think I was sheltered from it, because I never really saw it as much. And I think now when I reflect, now that I'm older, and I'm like, my mom struggled a lot, but she never showed me the full picture to protect me. So that's why I'm saying my mom is my ride or die. Like, I will do absolutely anything to make sure she's happy. She's my sole responsibility to ensure that she's happy. She's happy, because now that I'm old and reflecting and thinking about these things, I'm like, wow, she did a lot. And I don't know how she did it. But yeah, so basically, I sat on this thing with this girl for a couple of days, and I wasn't sure whether, you know, whether I should send this money to this girl, because obviously I don't want to be scammed. But obviously, to be scammed of 150 Rand, you know. And then I did a bit of research. I asked her to send me her proof and things like that she was at Rhodes University. I did my own research, and then I found that it was indeed legit. Okay, so I actually like to say like this. And then so I decided last Sunday to put up a poll, to put up a thing on my Instagram, and just ask people to donate 50 Rand each, because I just knew that, you know, she needs money for transport. She probably doesn't have toiletries, you know. She probably won't have pocket money and things like that. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna raise 1,500, so that at least this girl can have 150 for transport, buy her toiletries, and, you know, just have a full on nice experience of going back to school. Put it up on my Instagram, and my people came through. My people came true, like proper. And by the end of last week, it was last Sunday, so by the end of this week, we had raised 4,000 Rand. And yesterday, Friday, I sent it to her, and she was happy. So I am pretty chuffed about that initiative. And then the other thing that I am doing is, there's a girl I'm helping to get counseling. She is going through a lot. She recently lost her partner, and she's been feeling very depressed. So I really felt sorry for her, because she's pretty young. And I just thought, you know what, let me hustle and things like that. And what I did was to approach psychologists to just say, listen, this is a situation. I'll pay what I can, and, just help me out here. And she agreed. And with that as well, I had a donor who decided to donate money so that this girl can get counseling. So it's been great. It just shows me that when my mental health nation is up and running, I'll have donors waiting to donate. I hope so. I hope so. Okay, so that's basically what I've been doing behind the scenes. I think that's why I haven't had I haven't shot a video, and simply because I have been tired. I have been extremely tired. It's hot. It's everything. So yeah, that's basically that. I know it sounds like excuses. And now we're on 8 minutes and I haven't said what the video is about. So today we're going to talk about how stigma around mental illness makes me feel. And I'll cover 5 parts. It's going to be a very quick video. I'll cover 5 parts as to what is stigma, who causes the stigma, how do they cause the stigma, what are the effects of that stigma, and finally, how you, as the receiver of the stigma, you can actually deal with the stigma. So what is stigma? So stigma is almost a disapproval or a disgrace that's associated with something. So it could be anything. It could be stigma around people that are in same-sex relationships, stigma around mental illness, stigma around obesity, and all that. But obviously, we are talking about mental illness. So it's basically a disgrace or disapproval that's basically associated with something. So it's a disgrace or disapproval that's associated with mental illness in this case. The stigma, we get it from our families, from our friends, from our colleagues, from our employers, from strangers who feel as though they have an opinion about the things that we're going through. Personally, how does it make me feel? I think it used to make me very angry. It used to make me very angry because I felt as though people were oblivious. I felt as though people were living in their own bubble and they were just not willing to actually step out of that bubble to actually realize what reality is. You know, we didn't ask for this. We didn't choose it. If I were to choose between having a headache and this thing, I'll choose a headache any day. Do you get it? So I find that people are very oblivious, and I was one of those people. I won't lie. So until I knew what was going on with me, I was one of those people as well. I was very not interested or not teaching myself a lot about mental illness. Basically, I was very ignorant to it. I knew people were depressed and things like that, but I just didn't understand it fully, you know. But I don't think at any point I had passed stigma onto that. I didn't disagree or disapprove, because obviously you, as the person going through the thing, you know best what you're going through. So it used to make me angry, and I decided that when I started getting ill, that the people that were likely to impose that stigma on me, they need to change their minds very quickly. So I had to educate my family in order for them to understand that mental illness is the thing, so that they never feel the need for me to hide away, right? Secondly, my friends, educate them. They need to know when you can't make things. Don't come up with excuses. If your mental illness is acting up that day, tell them that, friend, can't make it because this thing is up in arms, it's acting up. Taught my friends about it. And now the most important factor in my life is the fact that Monday to Friday I'm at work. So do I tell my employer? Do I not tell my employer? I disclosed it. So I had to tell my employer, so that when they're preaching the fact that we care about the mental well-being of people, they know that I'm one of those people that suffer from mental illness related issues. So all the corners of my life where stigma would have been imposed, I nipped it in the bud by offering the information forthcoming and actually making sure that those people, they know that when it comes to mental illness, you better be sure about what you're going to say to me. When it comes to mental illness and you feel as though you have an opinion that goes against how I feel, you better be sure of your story, because I'm going to put you in your place. So I think people know that I'm basically an advocate for mental illness, and I haven't had a situation where someone will tell me nonsense where mental illness is concerned, because I'm going to put them in their place. Okay, cool. And so it made me angry initially, and then I understood that it was probably lack of understanding from the people, and just maybe other people that generally feel as though their opinion is the best and it's the only one that exists. And it made me realize that as people, we have a long way to go, and especially as people of color, as Black people, we have a long way to go, because in white communities, I'm not doing racial segregation now, in white communities where therapy and things like that are encouraged, it's not the same in our communities. To get it? So we almost need to reason with our parents, we almost need to reason with our partners in order to kind of impart the knowledge that they need to understand that this thing actually does exist. So it made me realize that we have a long way to go. I accepted that. After I got over the anger, I accepted that we have a long way to go. And now I'm at that stage where I'm like, I'm fighting the lack of knowledge of people so that they can actually embrace this thing. They can embrace people that are going through this thing. Because maybe at the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't want to deal with the ignorant people. I just want to convince myself that stigma is coming from a lack of understanding. So now I'm trying to educate people so that that lack of understanding can go away. We will deal with the ignorant and those ones that believe their opinions are bigger. But right now we're trying to educate everybody, and then let's see if the stigma still remains. It will still be there. Cool. So we know the angles where stigma is coming from, but how do you identify that stigma? So the first thing, because someone is not going to bash and whatever about your mental illness, it's just going to be the corny things that they do, the sneaky things that they do. Don't disregard them. I think the biggest one for me is people that disregard your emotions and make you feel as though your feelings and how you feel is invalid. It's not a thing. People that dismiss that. I honestly, if I start going on about how my mental well-being is, that I'm not in the right headspace at the moment, my anxiety is acting up, and you dismiss those feelings, that is stigma. That is stigma, because you're not acknowledging how I'm feeling, and you don't know how I feel. However, you're imposing your beliefs, your beliefs and your opinions on me in order to make me feel as though how I'm feeling is not there. It's not the truth, it's not valid, and it's not important. Do you get me? So that's the first thing. So it's almost like your family, when there's gatherings and you want to bring this up in a conversation that I haven't been feeling well because of this, and you're told, do not say that in front of people. Do not. So basically you need to hide that kind of things. That is how family imposes that. Don't say it in front of people. Yeah, man, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. How am I gonna be fine when I have a chemical imbalance? To get it? And then from an employer's side, the stigma that's there, and I don't think they do understand it, is that mental illness is not part of the sick leave that we have. That's stigma. That's discriminating. That you believe so much in a headache, but because I can't pinpoint what's wrong with my mental well-being, you're not validating it. Do you get me? So I remember when I started getting sick, I was given 3 days in Dublin to take as sick leave. So in that case, they were validating it. But I remember certain instances with my past employer where I wasn't given the opportunity to actually take time off when I was feeling that way. Do you get me? So it's stigma in the sense that we are not being catered for in our employment in a manner that says we acknowledge mental illness is a sickness like any other sickness. Do you get me? So I think those are the two things. And most importantly, when people just disapproves, don't take your feelings into consideration, they just don't want you to talk about this thing, it's not something to be brought up in a public platform, and cool. And now, what is the effect of this whole thing of people disagreeing or disapproving and so the effect for me is shame. You start feeling very shameless about it because you're not allowed to speak about it. Then it must be something very taboo. You start feeling that thing that I need to hide this thing as much as possible because my family doesn't want to talk about it, because my family doesn't want it to be perceived as though I'm mentally disturbed. Do you get it? Therefore, I'm just gonna hide away and hide it away as well. So you bring shame upon people. The second thing, you feel lonely. You feel lonely because when you can't share how you're feeling, you almost wallow in that thing and you're like, this thing, I need to deal with it on my own. Basically because I'm alone in this battle and loneliness started eating you up. And honestly, when you don't have anyone to talk to about mental illness and you fight the battle on your own, I feel like it eats you even more. Because there are certain situations where I find myself that I just don't want to stress my husband and tell him certain things about my mental well-being. It just takes me even longer to process it because I don't have anybody to share it with at that point. And I'm mainly doing it to protect him. But when I talk to him about certain things, I feel as though I shed a couple of kilos. Like, I feel lighter. I feel heavy, like I feel lighthearted, as opposed to when I feel very heavy-hearted because I just can't share certain things with people. That's the thing. And then the third thing is you become reluctant to ask for help. You need help. You need people that are in your corner to help you with certain things. And if those people impose the stigma on you, then you're always in a position to not ask for help. So you basically deal with the monster on your own. And to that, you become without a support structure, lack of support. You don't have a support structure because your support structure is crippling you. It's not building you, it's crippling you. It's imposing all these negative thoughts. You already have so many negative thoughts, and now there's people telling you that this thing doesn't exist. It's all up in your head, this and this and this. And the whole starts coming through that actually you don't have a really strong support structure. And then the most effect that I think is eating up a lot of people is self-doubt. You begin to doubt yourself. You begin to doubt yourself in things that you're good at. You begin to doubt yourself in things that you could potentially be good at. You lose the confidence. You lose the confidence. Mental illness on its own comes with a loss of confidence. I remember, I'm a very confident person. My confidence is up there. I'm not arrogant, but I'm confident. But when I started getting sick, I lost all of that. It's only in 2020 that I started gaining it back. And last year, obviously, I started feeling very more like myself. But the illness on its own, it comes with the confidence just draining out of you. But now if you have people that are not supporting you and that are basically imposing all these things and telling you that what you're feeling is not valid, you start doubting you. You start doubting everything that's coming out of your mouth because somebody has told you what has come out of your mouth before is not valid. So everything that you say after that, you just start doubting it. I think for me, self-doubt is a lot. It can kill dreams. It can kill people's passion. It can kill people's dreams. So that's basically the effect. And now I'll just cover quickly, how can you deal with it? Firstly, do not believe it. Your feelings are valid. And this is almost an affirmation that my feelings are valid. If you keep telling yourself every time when somebody dismisses you and you say, my feelings are valid. My feelings are valid. I remember I was having a mini argument with my husband last week, and I kept telling him, like, my feelings are valid. And the minute we started understanding each other's feelings, that's when we came together, instead of dismissing what the other one was talking about. Do you get it? So do not believe it. Do not believe it at all. Your feelings are valid. How you're feeling is valid. How you're feeling is real. It's not a made-up story. So affirmation, when somebody says, disapproves or disregards what you're saying, stand up and say, what I'm feeling is valid. I am feeling it. Do you get it? That's the first thing. The second thing is connect with other people. There is a wide range of a mental health community, guys. Here, different pages, whether it be Instagram or whatnot, but there is a wider mental health community or nation that exists out there. So connect with people who understand what you're feeling so that you can actually leverage off that to gain some form of a support structure to help you navigate and deal with what you're going through. Remember that it's not personal. That's another thing. It's just a lack of understanding. It's their own ignorance that is making them be in a position to think that they have an opinion. It's not personal. When someone is not feeling what you're feeling, they tend to disregard it. It doesn't make it right, but just remember that that is their own thing. Do you get it? They just don't understand what you're going through. Therefore, it's easier to dismiss it than to try and understand it. It's not personal. It's just them. It's not you. It's them. Okay. And then do not hide. This is so important, guys. I feel as though I have dealt with a lot of people that were willing to talk, that were willing to stand up and fight for mental illness. But however, they got so much stigma and judgment from people that they just went back into their shelter. They just went back into their little balloon and was like, this is the safe space. I'm not coming out. I'm not going to talk about mental illness in open spaces or anything ever again. Do not hide. I got so much backlash. I got so much people having an opinion when I started this whole thing. But I didn't go back in my little cocoon and be like, yeah, it's safe. I stood up and started talking about it. Let that be an encouragement that there's so much learning that needs to happen within our communities. There's so much learning that needs to happen in our families. We need to educate people. So let it be, when you get the stigma, just say it's lack of understanding. Therefore, I'm going to make you understand. Cool. And lastly, challenge it. So basically, when somebody says this thing, they say something, challenge them. And say, in fact, no, that's not how it goes. This is how it goes. Challenge it, because you are leaving the truth on a daily. You are leaving this thing on a day in, day out. You're the one who's having the anxiety attacks. You're the one having everything that has to do with mental illness. Therefore, challenge and stand up for the mental health nation. So I hope that kind of makes sense in terms of that you'll be in a better position to actually identify stigma when you deal with it, because I think that's another thing. People don't understand that they are being stigmatized because they don't know how to identify it. But I hope this video will help you with a couple of points that you can deal with. I know we've talked about stigma before, but I just think people just don't know what it is or how you actually identify it. So I hope this video will shed some light, and I hope you guys will have a beautiful Sunday. It is so hot in Cape Town, and I'm so glad I am done shooting this video because I am burning up in here. I hope you'll have a beautiful Sunday. I will see you guys in not next week, the week after next week. Have a great Sunday. Bye, guys.